Hello, 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 everyone. This is Dr. David checking in. I literally just got back from Las Vegas, and I've been out of touch for 2 solid weeks, and I'm jonesing for a little community action. So how's everybody doing today? Just type in the chat what's going on. How's your weekend going? How's your July going? There's D McC from New Zealand. Hey, D. There's Lottie and Liam. All right, you got me for a little while. What kind of questions do you have? Dina says, I vote you the number one in NLP. Thank you. There's Nathan Baer. Hello from the Philippines. Hello from San Diego, my friend. Jacob Lee, how you be? Good to see you, my friend. All right, I'm gonna put on my cool shades here. Everybody can hear me okay? Yes? You want to know the 36 magic bullets? Alessandro, afternoon, sir. Sonic Pranic Healing Meditation. Howdy, David. Diving deep into the VH course today. Thanks so much. Mwah, my pleasure. Nicolaki, hello from Burbank. Hello from San Diego, Burbank. Words create worlds. Dr. David, hearts right back. Scott King, doing great. It was great seeing you in Vegas, even if we didn't get a chance to catch up. Well, darn it, you know where I am, Scott. Come see me. There's Tony Kine. All right. So the 36 magic bullets are actually we refer to it by multiple names in our systems. It's actually known as the 36 questions. It's actually an app. There's 36 questions that researchers discovered that if you ask these questions over the it's kind of like a game where you ask a question and then they give you the answer, then they ask you the same question. It develops really powerful, really deep level intimacy. Hey, Cynthia. And you can actually get it. You can get it in our systems. Attraction Mastery has it. Every now and then we teach it in our erotic hypnosis or sensuality enhancement classes. And we also teach it in every now and then, once in a great while, we teach it in Killer Influence. You also will hear us refer to this as the intimacy intensifier interview. It's really cool. Well, because what we did with it was we took these 36 questions and we color coded them. We looked at the whole spectrum of all the different questions, and we color coded them. We kind of tried to determine if there was a certain theme that the questions had, and then we color coded them by theme, so it was easier. Because I don't think you really need all 36 questions to get where you want. I think you can do it with as little as three to nine, which dramatically shortens the process and makes it a little bit more manageable. But you can actually go to your app store and download apps called it, like just Google the 36 questions, and I think you'll come up with a couple apps that will do that. Let's see here. Hilton David out, a entrepreneur, Perth, 4 a.m. just to hit the sack. Oh, there's okay. Hey, Perth, welcome. So Nathan is asking, what's the fine line between relentless determination and avoiding lust for results? Well, I think the biggest thing is determination. Relentless determination is based on the action. Okay. Whereas avoiding lust for results almost always entails not doing enough. So like you want something so bad, so bad, so bad, so bad. But it is a fine line, because the idea is when you want something so bad that you can't let go of it, or you can't, like, you get married to the way it's going to manifest, as opposed to just keep trying different things until you get there. But I think what it is that, and again, because this is the first time anyone's ever actually asked me this question. So I think the line has to, and it's different for everybody, but I think the line has to be when you can't put it down. In other words, when I'm relentless, right, I'm going to do whatever I got to do to get there. But if it doesn't manifest, or if my life revolves around this thing to the the point of nothing else matters, that becomes obsession, and that becomes lust for results. So when you find yourself just completely I guess obsessed is a good word, but there's another word, fixated, I guess, is a good one, right? I think lust for results comes in when you can't let it go, when you, and I think that's the line, like when it keeps you up at night, right? When it's dominating all of your thoughts and all of your intentions. I think relentlessness is about the desire to achieve a goal and just keep testing things, but not being clenched, if that makes any kind of sense. It's the only thing I can really say is it's like it's like that monkey who reaches into the knot hole to pull out the peach, but when he closes his fist is too big to pull back out of the hole. And because he won't let go of the peach, he now becomes monkey brain soup, because the hunters knew that he wouldn't let go of the peach. And while he was focused on that, they came and took his life. But so I think it's a judgment call. But when it dominates, when it's all you think about, and you can't let it go. For example, I had a gentleman in the pickup and attraction worlds. We have this thing called one-itis, is where you've got this one person. You could have 50 other boyfriends or girlfriends, but this one person, if they like you or they approve of you, or you could just get this one person, everything else will be fine, or everyone else will approve of you. It's almost in that same energy. So that's the best way I can kind of describe it. Let's see here. Let's see. So many questions, so little time. Okay. Lottie's asking, if you've loved a loved one that's under the influence of malevolent spirits and in training from childhood how to live, and they are happy and can be okay. Lottie, you're going to have to rephrase that question, because I don't understand the question. Okay, if you can re-ask the question, I can give you a better. I can try to give you a good answer. Words Create Worlds is asking, what are some one-liners for women that you would teach during 3 magic questions in order to reject men? Oh, okay. So you're asking, how do you reject a guy without crushing his self-esteem? Is that what you're asking? There's a couple of ways you can do it. You could say, this has been a great conversation. Give me your email. And I have some friends I have to go see. Give me your email and I'll follow up with you. And we can continue the conversation that way. Or you can look at them and say, oh, there's my friends. I'm sorry, I've got to go. Thanks so much for talking, and leave. You can say, hey, give me your phone number, and I would love to continue this conversation another time. Winnie Pike says, namaste, namaste. Jacob says, awesome, thanks so much. Liam says, I just finished your Lucky for Life class. Now I'm already extremely lucky, but let me tell you, Lucky for Life raised my vibrations for luckiness 1,000-fold. I don't have the words to say thank you. You just did. You're welcome, my friend. Pay it forward. Teach others. Tell them where you got it. That's all I ever ask. Sonic Pranic Healing Meditation is asking, question, what is a bird that follows hermetics? What is a bird that follows hermetics? Answer. Oh, God. And now a goose. Okay. Cheers. Any tips on alternating and combining breath work, specifically shifting from fire to water breath? If you're going to shift from fire to water breathing, there's different cadence. So fire breathing is fast in, fast out. Water breath is, so it's slow in, fast out. I think slow in, slow out. It might be slow in, slow out. I think it's like a wave crashing. So it's slow in, faster out. Animals TV thoughts on numerology. I think there's something to it. I use the vibrations of numbers as a way to influence things, but I don't necessarily think of them as a predictive or prognosticative tool. A lot of people do. I don't. Lottie says your energy is all sparkling after Vegas. David magic. Well, I do my best. Actually, I literally just came off a 4-day vibrational healing intensive where I had like 26, 27 people. They were just doing crazy stuff. It was fun. Lottie says Indiana Jones energy. Hilton David House says when you fall out of balance. Yes. Let's see here. Okay, so Alessandra says, had a question on my mind. I graduated with an undergrad psych degree. I'm wanting to get into psychotherapy world, but don't know where to start gaining credibility. Feeling lost at the moment. Well, first and foremost, if you've only got a bachelor's or an associate's in psych, go back to school. If you want to work in this field or in the psychotherapy field, then you're going to need at least a master's, and a doctorate probably wouldn't suck. Unless you're going to be like a marriage and family therapist, social worker, something along those lines, you need that higher level credential if you want to work in the psychotherapy field, and you want to mesh with the system. If you want to be a hypnotherapist, hang out a shingle, start seeing clients, right? Rick T says, hey, David, I heard that seeds carry info. When you imbue it with intent and sacrifice it to fire, then it helps you attain your goal. It's usually done in India, but can you expand on this topic of sacrifice? Okay. We talk about sacrificing. What we're really talking about is an energetic release. In other words, in the Huna tradition, they would say you would have to sacrifice your mana to your Mauna Loa. So what you would do is you would build up this charge of energy. You would send it to your higher self. Your higher self would take that energy and use it to create whatever it is that you wanted. The idea of sacrifice is basically the same everywhere, in that in the process of sacrificing something, you're releasing the energy inherent in whatever it is you're sacrificing, and you're utilizing it, and you're molding it or forming it. Okay. Now, sometimes you take that energy and you harness it yourself. Usually it's a little bit of both. You harness it and you send it to the source or the entity that will take that energy and then put it in and use it for manifestation. There's lots of different ways that transference can happen, positive or negative. But that's basically what sacrificing is, as you're saying. This is something, this is important to me. It's important enough that I want to give you this energy to help, to pay you, for lack of a better word, or give you the resources you need to help me in return. So I don't know much about the whole seed thing from an Indian perspective. So I can't really go much deeper into that. All sacrifice entails releasing the energy from whatever is being sacrificed and transferring it into self or to an entity or a higher being for the purposes of manifestation or worship, which is, again, the lower degree of sacrifice. Raccoon 270 says, what do you think of UFOs? I think they're out there. Matthew Boyd, hello, David. Thank you for the recent vibrational seminar. Wow, just wow. You're welcome, Matthew. It was fun. So much more we could have done, but again, I think that every class, when we do vibrational, especially vibrational, every cohort is different, and everybody has certain things they all came to that particular class to learn that they didn't know they were coming for, and they meet their brothers and sisters in the energetic arts, and it's a real deep bonding that happens. Let's see here. So many questions. Okay. What processes in you consult do you use to qualify a client? Okay. Besides the basic verbal interview, there's two basic tests that I use. One is the heavy hand, light hand, and the other is the frame game. Those are my big, that's the kind of the litmus test. If they can pass the frame game, then I know that they're compliant enough, they're responsive enough, they've had an experience that shows that their neurology can actually create change right in front of them. And if they pass that, then I'll usually take them. If I'm sensing at any point in the consult that they're fighting me, that they don't want to do the things I want them to do, then I will release them and let them come back when they're actually more compliant. Remember, as a therapist, your job isn't necessarily to get people to believe that you can fix them. Your job is to get them to do what the hell you tell them, so the things you know will fix them actually have a chance of working. The chosen one. Hey, Snyder, I was wondering, how do I make your timeline more effective? And is it possible to use it to achieve lots of money? Yes. If you get a chance, there's a book written many, many years ago by Tad James, the late Tad James. It was called The Secret to Creating Your Future. It's either creating or programming your future. And it's all about the use of timeline to put things into your timeline that will eventually manifest. If you can find a copy of that on like Deal-Oz or Amazon or eBay, that's probably the most direct and succinct pathway to do it. We teach it in Hidden Laws of Attraction, which we'll be doing in a couple of weeks here in San Diego. But if you want something now, that'll do it. AP Kang, based on your background in social dynamics, is there a protocol to follow in order to desensitize to social interactions or cold approach? I have a hard time going out to social gatherings. Well, first and foremost, one of the most important things is learn to understand that every mammal on the planet, including every man and woman and child on the planet, has some level of nervousness and anxiety when they approach a stranger. So the idea that you need to be completely calm, or that you should be completely calm when you approach another human being, not so much. That alone helps people, because the person that you're approaching is just as nervous about you approaching them as you are about being approached as you are as approaching them. A lot of times, just knowing that takes the edge off and allows you to do it. The next thing is to break down the approach process into small steps, where maybe you learn to just walk down the street and actually just make eye contact with everyone. Doesn't matter if they're hot or not, if they're male or female, you learn to make non-threatening eye contact with people. Once you've overdone that to the point where if you say, if I got to make eye contact with one more person, I'm going to vomit. But it's not because you're afraid. It's just you've done it so many times, it's now boring, right? Once you have that, now what you want to do is you want to start generating positive eye contact. Positive eye contact is where now I look at somebody, I get their eye contact, I smile and I flash my eyebrows at them and I wait for them to return it. Right? Now, if even that's too much, look in the eye, smile, and let them return the smile. So you just over freaking learn that until you just can't stand doing it anymore. Not because you're afraid, but because you've done it so many times. It's just boring. Right? And you just step it up that way. Then once you get the positive eye contact, once you got the smile, the eyebrow flash, now say hi. How's your day going? Or just hi as you walk by. And baby step your way through it. And then once you can get hi, ask how's your day going? Right? Or what brings you here? And now you're into 3 magic questions protocol, right? Which is very, very simple. It's location, occasion, career, passion, pleasure, and then early positive childhood experiences. And that's how you step it up, right? Now, the secret to this is to do it in places that you don't normally go. So one of the things when I was really active, and again, you have to understand that I was ranked one of the top 5 attraction experts of the year by Global Guru, or not Global Gurus, Art of Approaching. This is back in 2005. But it's important to understand that my rank came from the fact that I was such an expert in sexuality and creating very, very powerful, very, very intimate and passionate long-term relationships. But to do that, you actually have to meet people and get them to want to spend time with you. So the important thing to remember is you got to baby step it. But the other thing is that when I would coach people, they would say, I got to work on my club game. I said, oh, so you like to go to nightclubs? They go, no, I hate nightclubs. I said, why are you going to a nightclub to meet people then? Well, because I got to get better at it. Well, no, because if you're not someone who likes to go to nightclubs and you go to meet people who, you're going to meet people who like to go to nightclubs. It's not going to be a good fit for you, right? It's the wrong, you're running west looking for a sunrise. So examine your social circles, examine the places where people that you would like to spend more time with hang out, and practice your techniques in those contexts. Now, the other thing I tell my students is practice these skill sets on people who don't matter. Now, what does that actually mean? Because it sounds kind of harsh, but practice these skills on people who you may never see again. Their opinion really doesn't matter a whole lot, and it's just another repetition, right? So, you know, servers and bartenders and valets and people who at the bus stop, or people in the elevator, just people that you just encounter. Because the more reps you get in, when it comes time to do these things with someone that you actually want to make an impression on, it's going to flow. So again, don't, like the old saying, don't wait till the barn's on fire to start digging the well, right? Dig the well, get the reps in, and then when you're ready for it, these skills will be ready for you to deploy. Alongside of that, hang out with people who do this stuff. Come to the masterminds, you know, come to the live events, and develop and get with the community of people who actually practice this stuff and want to get better and want to help you get better and have you help them get better. That's the way it works. Nobody really does things alone. We like to think we do, but nobody is really an island. Okay. Hopefully that helps you. Matthew says, what about when you let go of the peach to pull your hand out and now the peach won't let go of you? Well, that's what we call a stalker and a bad fruit choice. You've got to select people better. Okay. And again, because we're talking about metaphors, I don't know if this peach is a person. I don't know if it's a substance. I don't know what's going on. But again, a lot of the times you have to actually practice profiling and discernment before you initiate some of these processes, especially things like 3 magic questions, like level 3 of the 3 magic questions, or the 36 magic bullets that we talked about earlier. Because if you deploy these on people who are unstable or borderline or have really strong codependence tendencies, you're going to wind up with a stalker. You're going to wind up being somebody's therapist, and it's not going to be fun for you. Okay. We had an incident at the last convention where there was a lady who had some serious mental problems, following all the presenters around, including myself, you know, and they're and the more you work on your energy and things like that, the more those people will sense that energy and they'll be drawn to it. So you have to be very, very careful. You know, when I tell my students, always be testing, right? Always be evaluating the people that you're interacting with to determine if they're a fit, or if there's maybe some wiring that needs adjusting or whatever, right? This is because, again, that's what you came to learn. You want to get better quality people in your life. You've got to be willing to be more discerning, and sometimes a little bit elitist or snobbish, to make sure that the people you're surrounding yourself with are in fact the crowd you want to be with or like. Okay. Let's see here. Cynthia, how can I make my Reiki stronger? The folks I work with love what I do, but I want to learn what more I can do with it. I've been doing mainly pain relief. Well, there's a bunch of ways to do that. Deepen your connection to source, get more Reiki attunements, do more Reiki. As you use it, you build it. Duan, I'm assuming that's how you say that, Duan Hales. Can you give me a good example on how to practice using adverb, adjective, presuppositions? Yes, as you fully begin to truly understand how to use these amazingly powerful adverb and adjective presuppositions, you'll easily discover new and exciting ways that you can begin to use them in such a way that they easily and rapidly flow from your mind, allowing you to hypnotically install things in people and have their internal representations be exactly what you want anytime you want, for the very best reasons, which are always your own reasons. And that's a great idea, wouldn't you say? Mm-hmm. The Animals TV, is it true that authenticity is the highest frequency you can operate on? No, because I don't know what the highest frequency you can operate on is. Authenticity is an attribute for certain. Sincerity, based on one of my mentors used to say, sincerity was the highest or the most powerful trance induction. So if I think authenticity is a very powerful one. Is it the highest? No, I don't think so. I think there's higher things than that, but I think authenticity is implicit in whatever those higher vibrations are. Brick T, can you do the same with animal sacrifice like you would seed? See my, yes. Again, as long as there's life force in the object or the thing being sacrificed, it can be sacrificed and harnessed. You may have to burn it to release that energy. You may have to physically kill it and harness the blood. But again, I don't advocate sacrifice, but if you look at Santeros and Hunan practitioners, the idea of using the energy of chickens and other things is still a very common practice. D. McC says, what technique that I can use to energize the fastest for peak physical and mental performance, please? D, I don't know what techniques you have. Fire breath is probably a good one if you can do it safely. There's a mantra that Master Choa Sui used to teach that was really powerful. It was called Om Namo Rama Om. Om Namo Nama Rama Om. Namo Rama Om, I think is what it was. And I used to do that one, and that would just charge me up. But there are lots and lots and lots of ways to build energy, but I don't know what your skill sets are. I don't know what your level is. And so I don't know that I want to give you anything beyond that and the transformational triad. So energy spinning, magic frame, color breathing. These will all build your energy up really, really quickly. In fact, spinning, finding how your current energy level and finding the direction that amplifies it and then maximizing the spin and putting it back in will probably work even better than the mantras that I talked about in the fire breath. But you can stack them as well. So you could literally do fire breath, do Om Nama Rama Om, and then point to where you feel it, take it out, spin it, and triple stack it, and just be careful because you might spontaneously combust or something. Right. But again, if you aren't really schooled in energetic work, you don't know how to vent energetic charges, cleanse your body, purge, you really shouldn't be doing energy building exercises. It's more important to purge and regulate than it is to build. So Nicolaki says, thoughts on Byron Katie's The Work. Can I be honest? I've never read any of Byron Katie's work, so I honestly can't comment on it. But for the sake of comprehensiveness in the future, I will in fact put it on my reading list. It took me over 15 years to read Neville Goddard. I just started doing that this year, and everybody was been comparing me to him for years. And so I was like, oh my God, this guy's pretty smart. Lottie Martin, if someone wants a dream from me, an impossible ask, and I feel like their whole life and being depends on me walking a tightrope, they're obsessed, but I love. Okay, is there a question here? What is it that you want to know, Lottie? Okay, first of all, okay, I'm going to go out on a limb here and just see if I can understand what she's trying to say. If somebody's asking you for something that is honestly outside of your ability to deliver or your willingness to deliver, then you need to say so. Okay, people need to learn to live with disappointment, and they need to learn how to manage that. And on the flip side, we need to learn how to say no to people and still feel okay with it. And that's a challenge for all of us, especially if it's someone we love and or who claims to love us. But other people's obsessions are not your problem. And that sounds harsh, but it's true. You know, if you've ever heard the expression, good fences make good neighbors, good boundaries make good companions and friends and associates. And knowing how to maintain those boundaries when other people kind of tread on them is important, right? If it's not something you're willing to do, if it's not something you're capable of doing, then you need to just be upfront with it, right? I do this all the time when I'm sitting in front of a room and everybody wants the secrets of the universe from me, and they'll ask me, I don't know how to, and I'll look at them and I'll say, I don't know, right? Or some of my high-level coaching clients who want a product or service that is well and truly beyond the scope of what their package entails. I have to, as much as it hurts me sometimes to say no to the people I love most in my business and in Planet David, you have to. It's the only way to maintain your integrity and your energy, because people will suck you dry, right? In fact, one of the things, I'll probably be posting a demo next week or so. One of the things we talked about at vibrational healing was these energetic cords that people attach to you. And once they're attached to you, they can use those cords to draw your life force away. And part of the ways they'll do that is through emotional manipulation. And so you'll actually see me pulling all these cords out of this young lady, and her eyes are closed and she has no idea where I'm pulling, and you'll see her just all over the place, right? So again, good boundaries, and just be upfront and say, look, I love you, but this is not going to happen, right? Tony Kine, David, can energy affect your luck or karma? For years now, from women to money and everything, I feel like my luck I just changed it. Everything explodes in my face and I'm back to square. Yeah, energy can change your luck. But mostly what changes your luck is the way you program that energy. If you build up too much energy, whatever is inside of you gets amplified. So, but a lot of times the way that the neurology works and the energetic interaction with the non-local universe works is, in order for you to have a certain thing, you have to become a certain thing. And in order for you to become a certain thing, sometimes things have to break. Things have to like just fucking dissolve, right? In order to, if you, and I'll use what I call a golden handcuffs example. If you're making $100,000 a year and you want a 7-figure business, right? And you start manifesting, all of a sudden you get fired or laid off, or your company goes through a downsizing and you're out of a job. We would think of that as the worst luck ever, but that $100,000 a year job may have been making you far too comfortable to go and actually start that 7-figure business. And now you're in that do or die situation. And now you're highly motivated to do it. You manifested it, not because you were doing something wrong, but because in order for you to become that person, the universe saw the shortest distance between where you were and where you needed to be based on what you were trying to manifest. And it just said, okay, we'll just get this out of the way, and poof, now he has to sink or swim, or she has to sink or swim. Right. One of the things I was told in my mystical training is the spirit world doesn't really care about what your life is like. When you start working and manifesting, it's going to look at the shortest distance between 2 points and all the things that have to happen for you to become that person from a quantum nonlinear perspective. And it's just going to start pushing buttons. Sometimes it's fast, sometimes it's a little longer. But you just got to be kind of at peace with how things are evolving, because it's all going to come back to non-attachment. And the other thing that, a question was asked earlier is, how do you make a distinction between relentlessness and lust for results? And I think the key to it is how attached you are to it. Right? I think attachment has a lot to do with it. So hopefully that answers the question. What are the best submodalities to use for the GPS timeline? That depends on the person chosen. Everybody's going to have a different set of submodalities that resonate most powerfully with them. When I teach frame game or magic frame, we're using global, generic human submodalities, but there's also a more personal level to that dashboard, and that's what you use in your timeline work. So you're going to have to elicit that in and of yourself so you can figure out what most powerful submodalities for you are. Brick T says, is there any better alternative to I'm going to assume you mean Jungian dream reading? I do not know of any. But every system has some level of dream magic or dream interpretation. I would go with whatever your gut impression is on a particular dream, unless you have a lot of training in the symbolics of a certain system and you've indoctrinated those. Going with your first impressions and what those dream symbols mean to you are always a more consistent way to go. Alessandra says, thanks, David. You're welcome. Madi Shabbat says, David, where should one start in his martial journey? What would you focus on? First thing I would focus on is, what do you want to be able to do as a byproduct of training martial arts? Now, every martial art that you train should satisfy the self-defense criteria. After that, you need to ask yourself, okay, do you want to compete? Are you interested in martial sports? Or do you want to win trophies? Do you want to win MMA matches? Right? Are you more interested in history, classics, tradition? And then finally, what's your body type? What's your personality like? Are you a very big, very strong, woody or earthy kind of a person? Are you more slight, lightweight? Like my wife, for example, it's 110 pounds, soaking wet. She can do Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and Muay Thai until she's blue in the face. But unless she devotes 7 to 18 hours a day to building up the muscle, it's diminishing returns. And she loves those arts, so she plays, so she practices them. But again, what's your body type? If you've got very long legs, right? Maybe you need to do an art that's primarily kicking. If you're very short and squat and you have a low center of gravity, grappling arts might be a better fit for you, right? If you're someone who is a finessey, flowy, wiry kind of a person, you might want something like a Wing Chun art or a Bagua, or the Filipino martial arts. I think is a great. I like the Filipino martial arts because it allows me to go into the harder arts like karate and kempo, as well as the Bagua, the Xingyi, and the Taiji that I do. It also lets me use my Sistema, which has a completely different way of training than every other art I've ever studied. I love my Wing Chun. I love my Aiki Jiu-Jitsu because that's where they all kind of meet. So, and then of course, once it's satisfied that need and ability to protect yourself, what do you want to be able to do with it long term? Do you want to be able to work with energy? Do you want to be able to develop these energetic abilities that some of the esoteric martial arts purport to give their practitioners, right? If that's what you want, then studying MMA or some of the combat sambo or things of that nature, it's probably not going to be the best fit for you, right? So those are the things you should think about, and then visit schools that do those things. Talk to the instructors, talk to the students, take as many sample classes as you can, and find an instructor that resonates with you. Right? That's the best I can teach. Make sure they have a good reputation. Okay, so I hope that helps. Ultra transformation therapy. Hi, David. What would you say is the philosopher's stone in the work that you do? Well, the philosopher's stone is the ability to transmute one level of energy or substance into something else. That's the philosopher's stone. The philosopher's stone is both a metaphorical and a literal thing. I have never experienced the physical side of it, but I have encountered teachers who have seen people literally transform like a copper coin or a silver coin into gold. Right? But it's not through a stone per se. It's through an ability to interface with the vibrational and atomic structure of matter, and for a short amount of time, change it. Okay. But in a nutshell, the philosopher's stone is the ability to take something that is base, like if we're talking about emotions, for example, take something that is base, like anger, rage, hatred,
and transmuting it into something positive and powerful like love or unconditional love. On a qigong level, on a neigong level, it's the ability to take jing, speed up its vibration and turn it into qi, speed up its vibration and turn it into shen or spirit, which is a higher a vibration of energy that gives you more and more power and actually can be used to rebuild and recreate the body. But it's really the power to transmute from one thing that is of a lower frequency or density or vibration to something of a higher, and vice versa, because you can also accumulate energy from the universe and condense it down and create more jing, which enhances and builds the body. So I think it's the way we commonly think of the philosopher's stone is, changing something base into something higher. But I think it can also be the other way. I think what we truly want is the ability to change anything, to turn anything we want into anything we want. And that's why we call what we do alchemy, because we're literally taking a base emotion or a negative feeling or a disease and turning it into its opposite, which is a form of alchemy. So I hope that answers your question. Jacob Lee, what do you know about color personality synesthesia? I have a friend who can read personalities and thought processes through someone's color, just like face reading. Well, first and foremost, when you say color personality synesthesia, I do not know what that means. So I cannot really comment on it. Let's see here. How is it like being a hold on a second. I'm scrolling up, guys. Just bear with me. Holy cow, there's a lot of questions. Okay, hold on. Just bear with me, folks. Wow, there's a lot of questions. Okay, you guys must have missed me. By the way, if you're enjoying the AMA, please like and share. Please let everybody know where they can come to get their question answered. Also, 2 weeks from now here in San Diego, for those of you who are interested in law of attraction, manifestation, and energetics, we are doing a 3-day hidden laws of attraction, 0 to hero manifestation mastery class. If you're interested in coming and attending that, if you have a VIP ticket, let Stephanie know. Go to 858-282-4663 and let her know, or email Stephanie at AOL.com. Let me also, let me go to my website and just kind of post that link, because I would really like to, because a lot of your stuff is, you're asking me a lot about energetics. This is your chance to come and train with me. And we can dive deep into this energetic well. I just thought about it while I was talking about it. I said, why don't I tell them about the class we got coming up so they can all come? Sometimes I forget to actually promote my stuff. So if you're interested in the class, go click that link there. Let's see here. David, thoughts on Gurdjieff Ouspensky fourth way system? Did you study it? I know of Gurdjieff. I think I might have read some of his stuff about 40 years ago. I do not remember it, to be quite honest. But some of my friends like Dimitri, some of my mega students, Dimitri and Laura, they're big fans of Gurdjieff's stuff. Again, I'll put it on my reading list, right? Sekizan-san says, if you get in rapport with someone and went to a dominant state, will they become dominant or submissive? Thank you for your work. Great question. The answer is yes. Here's what I mean. When you start playing with state control and you enter into like a master and commander state, most people will go into a subordinate state. But that subordinate state will have a feeling of confidence and comfort connected to it if you're doing it right. Because when somebody goes into something like master and commander, they emanate a sense of certainty and calmness that is very reassuring to people. Okay, they can go into what we call a complementary state or a reciprocal state. So if I go into master and commander, the vast majority of time, people will become a little bit more subservient, a little bit more, but sometimes they'll become an equal. They'll go into a master and commander state too, which can also work in your favor because it's a much more positive state for them. And so although all they really know is that when you go into that state, or when that all of a sudden they feel better and more comfortable and calm, because that's what master and commander does. So most of the time they'll go into the complementary state. So you go dominant, they're going to go subordinate. But every now and then you'll get people who become reciprocal, in that you go dominant, they become dominant too. And so you have to really be able to pay attention to what the feedback that you're getting, so you know how to manage it. It's a great question, and something I cover in Killer Influence. You usually see that particular phenomena happen when we start generating feelings of attractive versus attracted. We don't see it quite so much in the master and commander or the dominance arena. Let's see here. Have you ever accessed the Akashic records? Not by name. I've gotten downloads and stuff like that all the time. Did it come from the Akashic record? I don't know. I've never really used that term. D. McC says, David, have you ever heard of hysterical strength and how to tap into it so we can use it at will when we need it, please? Well, first and foremost, hysterical strength by definition implies a really deep primal shift in consciousness. But there is, in the Kuji Kiri, there is a mantra symbol and a mantra and an energy work, or mudra symbol, I should say, and a process for generating tremendous strength. The Om Nama Rama Om mantra can start to generate that too. The problem is, again, and the keyword you're using is hysterical, right? You don't want to become a berserker, right? But you can build, like when my students would practice the Rin Mudra a lot of times, like Seth would do, he would do the Rin Mudra and some of the other Kuji right before a workout, and he would notice a significant bump in his strength. So I think the more evolved and energetically evolved you become, the more you can start to generate those kinds of strength. But we all have that ability. The problem is that we can generate far more strength than our body can handle. So many times when you hear these stories about the mom who lifts the vehicle off their 5-year-old, right? She does it, but then you don't hear about all the torn muscles and the broken bones, because the body's not ready for that kind of exertion on a consistent basis. But there are ways to do these things. Like I said, there's a lot of different practices out there that will lead to the ability to bend steel and stuff like that. If you want to reference, probably the best guy to reference is a guy called the Amazing Atom, Joseph Weinstein. He was a very famous strongman in the early part of the 20th century. He would literally bend steel in his teeth. He would pull airplanes with his hair. Joseph Weinstein, I believe is his name. And supposedly he was a practitioner of Kabbalah. So Kabbalah might have something to do with that as well. And if we take the myth of Samson as any indication, there are ways to do these things. So Brick T. Okay, David, can you demystify entities, as it's hard to imagine if they could want anything earthy, and how you even communicate with them to begin with? Are deities the same or some project? Okay. We're getting some pretty deep questions here. So first and foremost, I'm going to just put out my public service announcement. Don't mess with entities. Okay. Most people aren't well trained enough to deal with these things. And there are many different types of entities. Some are very transient. They're created, they're thought forms that are created in the moment when you have this massive spike of emotion, and this little semi-sentient energy packet is created that has a very brief lifespan, and then it's gone. But then some of these, they find ways to feed, and they take on a life of their own. They go rogue. right? So those are thought forms, but you also are swimming in an ocean of energetic, think about how many different types of fish live in the ocean, and then understand that you're a fish in an ocean of energy. So you have everything from, the equivalent of energetic plankton all the way up to energetic apex predators, right? And all points in between. So, but entities are sentient, energetic, and spiritual life forms. And the truth is that most of them are stuck. One of the interesting things about a human body, as well as this particular plane, is that it's the place you can come to level up. And so spiritual entities are looking for food sources, which is how a lot of them get attached to your energy field. But some of them are looking for a vehicle. They're looking for something they can step into and overshadow and possess it so they can stay here and do things. Okay. And then it just gets weirder, right? But that's basically what entities do. In order to evolve on the spiritual planes, you need a physical body. And because the physical body is composed of all 5 elements, it has an energy body and a spirit body, as well as a soul. The entities can come in, and by traumatizing or depleting the body in a certain way, they make it much more malleable to influence. And it can eventually overshadow the soul. Again, depending on how powerful the entity is, it can overshadow the soul and actually create a little barrier between the soul itself, the spirit body, the energy body, and the physical body, and it can take over. Right. My training, I actually finished a very intense training last month, which was the entry point into understanding how these things work and how to remove them. Right. But there's everything from archangels to, like I said, the energetic and equivalent of phytoplankton, elementals and composite beings and thought forms and, elves and fairies and nature spirits and stuff. There's so many different things. Right. In terms of deities, it really depends on how you think about it. In the mystical traditions, they have this thing known as deity magic, where you imagine a deity that represents the ideal thing that you want to develop, and you contemplate it and you send energy back. You receive energy, you send energy. And what happens after a certain amount of time, you can start to actually take on those attributes. But if you keep going deeper and deeper into the deity magic process, you suddenly realize, and this is again from the Buddhist tradition, you suddenly realize that image is just a projection of your true self. A la Neville Goddard, the I am consciousness is creating something outside of itself, but it's really a projection. And it's all just you, right? But it's one of the ways that you can manifest specific mystical and magical abilities and things like that. So hopefully that answers the question. Inre Halsa Hypnosis. What is the best way to program energy when you've done the exercise, pulling down the heavens, and done the 3 invocations? Well, that really depends on what you want to do, Inre. You can do thought forms. You can pull down a cord of divine light, turn it into a shape or a symbol, and turn it into a talisman. You can embody it in water or herbs, or there's so many different ways to do that, to work with that energy. But you always start with, the pulling down the heavens, 3 divine. Are you doing the 1 through 10 as well? Do you put the 1 through 10 in between the pulling down the heavens and the 3 invocations? Or are you just going from pulling down the heavens to the 3 invocations? Okay. Ghostwriter, hi. The Animals TV says, what do you think about this guy channeling a spirit called Bashar? Again, it's not my place to pass judgment on anyone who's channeling. All right. The biggest and most important issue is the information you're getting producing a result for you. Right. I don't channel entities. I get downloads, but I don't let anybody in to my system other than God. And that's only because God created it in the first place. So I really don't, I have to allow that. I don't let entities in. I don't need to, because a Kabbalist can do all these things without having to channel. But but again, Bashar has been around a long time. Seth has been around a long time. There's been a lot of really high level channelers out there, but I'm not a big fan of channeling. That doesn't mean I haven't learned some interesting things from the information that's come through, but I don't, you have a body, it's your body. Letting other people share it, not the best approach. Okay. Nikolaki says, I've been teaching face reading for the past 8 years. I'm amazed every time I see your presentation, how much more I need to learn. Love Lillian Bridges' book on Chinese face reading. Thank you, Nico. I love Lillian too. And the more I learn this stuff, the less I know. And so thank you so much for being part of our journey together. Jacob Lee says, what is Hakalau? I heard you mention it in a few times when talking about state control, but I couldn't find any info on it. Well, first of all, you have to spell it right. It's H-A-K, Haka, L-A-U, Hakalau. And you can find it mentioned largely in the Huna tradition, which is a Polynesian spiritual tradition. So any of the books by Max Freedom Long are great. John LaTourette, who just recently passed away, in his Huna courses would talk a lot about Hakalau. If you come to Killer Influence, Hidden Laws of Attraction, or Vibrational Influence, we will teach you Hakalau. Brick T says, I do Kegel, but I can't really keep it in. You know what I mean? How do you even transmute the fluid? Just contract certain muscles? Or is there some trick to there's a lot of tricks to it. Some of the ways that you have to squeeze the anal sphincter tight. The tighter you can clench the gluteus muscles, the anal sphincter, and the perineal muscles, and hold that and drive the energy upward, that's going to go the furthest for you. Okay. You may need to use your hand and press into the huyen, or the perineum. And you press, if you palpate between your legs, you'll feel a little cavity. If you press up in there as you're reaching orgasm or about to ejaculate, you can actually keep the ejaculate in and drive the energy upward. So sometimes we need to manually manipulate those pressure points to do the semen retention. Steve-O, no comment, says, keep doing what you're doing, David. What you're teaching is going to completely change people's lives. I'm planning on coming all the way from Scotland to one of your seminars. Fantastic, Steve-O. I look forward to seeing you very, very soon. Ghostwriter, what's your thoughts on Shem HaMaphorish? I love it. I am an avid practitioner of the 72 names, and I've been a practitioner of the 72 names for over 30 years. That is my specialty. That is my focus in the Kabbalistic studies. Justin Tang says, what are your thoughts on Ross Jeffries and speed seduction? I have many. Better question, give you a better answer. Ghostwriter says, I like speed seduction, but it requires linguistic skill. Absolutely. Brick T, some people claim to channel Atlantean entities or some other galaxy. They are real and can, again, when people start talking about channeling, my bullshit detector goes off, but then I have to check myself and say, okay, is the information useful? If the information is useful, then I don't care where it comes from or who says they're giving it to it, you know? Brick T. Thrill Freak Chill says, Dr. David, my question is, can a narcissist be hypnotized? Abso-friggin-lutely. Sekizan-san says, how to change your default state from negative to positive. Change your posture, change your breathing, and hold it for at least 2 minutes. Average Joe, can we do magic frame with our eyes open and cycling too? Yes. Seki-san says, what's the difference between frame and state? Because each one will happen when you do the other. Expand that. All right. So first of all, a frame is the meaning that you assign to any particular context or interaction. A state is the sum total of the body feelings and perceptual filters that you're experiencing that can influence how you perceive a frame or your place in it. So they do interact quite a lot, but they are very different. A frame is the meaning you assign to a situation or circumstance, the people and the behaviors in it. And a state is a combination of body feelings and perceptual filters and emotions. Just in time, how do you read all the books you read and remember them? Any advice to more hyper obsessive, to be more, learn to love it. All right. I love reading. I love knowledge. I love finding pieces here and pieces here and pieces here and putting them together to create something that has been lost or has never been seen before, or just gets us from from point A to point Z faster. And reading and research is my jam. It's one of the things that excites me, and because I'm not done. The more things I learn to do or understand, the more things I want to be able to learn, do, and understand. And so after a while, you have to change, because you're acquiring so much information and data so fast, you have to change how you go through it. But that's a different issue. Finding reasons to love what you do is the fastest way to get good at it. Okay. John Fuse says, any tips for dealing with a bully boss? I'm in training and a lot of fear of getting sacked as a manager seems to like she is sabotaging me.
Okay. The best thing you can do is make your bully boss your friend. So I would start with echo technique, 3 magic questions, criteria and values listation, and see if that doesn't change the dynamic between you and her. If that doesn't work, then I would start looking for another job or go to HR and strap in and prepare to fight for your rights. Right? It could be that you just remind her of someone that she doesn't like. It could be that you said something. She could view you as competition. There could be a lot of reasons why seems intent on sabotaging you. So the fastest thing, the most effective thing you can do is turn her into a friend. You do that by echoing 3 magic questions, criteria and values listation, emotional bonding techniques, and then maybe even using the resistance removal formula if that's appropriate to do so. Okay. Sotiris says, hi, Dr. D. Hey, Sotiris. All right, we're coming into the home stretch here. Lottie says, in the 1920s, 30s, and 40s, newsreels, people seem to be popping with energy and talking, doing, chatting, dancing, factory, workstation. Where did they get their zippy energy? They got it from not being in front of a freaking video screen for 12 hours a day, popping back and forth from Instagram to Facebook to Twitter and back and forth. You got to remember that in those years, the television screen was this, if they had a television, it was this big. They had a radio. A lot of these people still only had outhouses, right? You had all these, you were much more social. You were much more community oriented because there wasn't these dopamine pumping terminals. So people were naturally more inclined to socialize and fraternize and go do things. Right? Most people didn't have cars. If you wanted to go somewhere, especially in the 20s and 30s, if you needed to go somewhere, you either took public transportation or you walked. Right? So they had a lot more energy because they needed it, and so they used it. Right? But we've been sabotaged on a biological, physiological level because of the systems in place, the powers that be. Our whole energetic system has been fucked with. Pardon my French. But just the nutrients in the 1920s and 30s, the nutrients in the soil were significantly higher than they are now, right? There were so many things that are different, right? But here's the thing: the more time you spend away from your computer, the more time you spend actually walking and doing things. After about 30 to 90 days, you won't want to sit in front of your computer anymore, because you'll have other things you want to do. It's really hard to unplug because the system's rigged to keep you here.
The system's rigged to keep pumping you full of dopamine and getting you excited for the next click or the next cat video or whatever. And again, I'm shooting myself in the foot by saying these things, but this is the truth. This is the world we live in. So if you want something different, you've got to do something different. Right? And anybody who says just buy my buy this supplement, or they're trying to sell you something. It's a lifestyle shift you have to make, not a nutrient shift you have to make. All right. Nutrients are important, but it's about how you live your life as well as the foods you eat and other things. So again, I'm going to get off my soapbox here, but Ghostwriter, what's your thoughts on Abraxas from Gnosticism and the Demiurge from Gnosticism? Okay, so Abraxas is a demon. And you're dropping all kinds of interesting terminology here. So for our group, elaborate on Gnosticism, Abraxas, and Demiurge. And so we'll all make sure we're talking about the same thing. Okay. Justin says, thoughts when it comes to semen retention and manifestation, does it help in your experience? Yes. Semen retention is very good for most people. It has the highest content of ether or void, or the highest element is the void or the akasha, and that's where it resides, in the semen. Let's see here. Justin Tang. Thoughts about Neville Goddard. What are the similarities and differences you see in what you teach and what Neville teaches? Interestingly, I've just started this past year. I just picked up one of his books and I just started reading. I'm only 2 or 3 books into it, but there's nothing that he's teaching that I disagree with. The only thing that I see different is some of our terminology is a little bit different, and kind of where he's, what he starts with is different, or his starting point is different. But by and large, I don't see a whole lot of difference. That was one of the things that was shocking, because for almost 12, 15 years that I've been doing my YouTube channel, people would constantly ask me about Neville Goddard or comparing me to Neville Goddard. And I'd never studied I didn't even know who the guy was, quite frankly, for a long, long time. And then one of my SEO guys said, one of the keyword search terms you come up with whenever we search on you is Neville Goddard and manifesting. And I was like, well, damn it, maybe I should study that. So I just grabbed a bunch of his books and I started going through it. I was like, holy shit. Like we're literally parallel to each other. It was a mind fuck to me, really. But it's also interesting that there's nothing new under the sun, is there? It's just maybe a faster, more practical way to apply those principles. And that's kind of my mission in life, is to find faster, better, more consistent ways to do these things. So I think everybody could benefit from studying Goddard's work. I certainly got tremendous confirmation that I was on the right track, which I get a lot anyway. But because I'm such a hands-on kind of person, and I'm about like, what can you show me right now? I was pretty confident in what we were doing anyway. But it was interesting to see how Goddard talked about his stuff back in the day. So highly recommend it. Brick says, how to be sensitive to energy flow. Are there practices that tell you to feel energy certain? Oh, of course there are. There's hundreds of practices out there for that. There's pretty much any Qigong system will do it. Pranic healing will do it. Reiki will do it. The Bengston system will do it. There's lots of different trainings for that. David Bull says, can you please explain remote influence, especially how you get kinesthetic rapport with a person far away? You get kinesthetic rapport with a person far away the same way you get kinesthetic rapport with a person who's right next to you. Energetic and vibration are non-local phenomena. But we start you standing next to a person so you can test it, so you can develop confidence and calibrate how your body translates those connections into sensations. Remote influence is the ability to tap into a person's unconscious mind and generate a state of body feelings and internal representations that cause them to think and feel along a certain path. Remote influence can take many different forms.
depending on what school of thought you're tapping into. So, how is it like being a father? Again, Ghost, you're losing me here on how is it like being a father. Rick T says there seems to be some practice that make your soul leave your body, and old spiritual people who want to leave their body before sickness. Will you leave your body on your own terms or wait for the bitter end? I'm working on immortality, so I want to become an immortal, so I have a choice whether to take my body with me or not. And I'm slowly acquiring those practices to do that. But at the end of the day, if I have to go, I'd rather be it on my own terms rather than just be ripped screaming from it.
Adrian Martinez, can using magic frame increase manifestation with the more submodalities while spin cycling it back into you?
Adrian, you're going to have to test that to find out. All the techniques in the transformational triad can be used for manifestation. How you combine them is really up to you. Kat down the road says, Dr. David, have you ever seen anybody have a seizure as a result of this kind of energy work? Not really, no. Not really. In fact, we've actually used it to dissolve or to slow down seizures when they're in a state where they could actually follow our instruction. I've actually seen people, some of them are actually on this call right now, who had a seizure, and then we used framing and color breathing to actually bring them back out of it, out of the fugue the post-ictal state. We've actually used that, but I've never seen it cause a tumor or cause a seizure. So Sonic Pronic says, appreciate your time, David. Any tips on trying to give up control from a control freak, primarily myself, cutting cords on controlling myself and my path, just need to let go more. Identity by design. Just start practicing the identity by design silo, and you'll start to clean a lot of that up. There's lots of powerful techniques in that system that allow you to gain control by giving it up. Okay, what are your thoughts on D-Wave technology bringing in entities like CERN type things? Okay, I don't know anything about that. Honestly, Ghost, I really don't. You're asking some really, really interesting questions, but when it comes to the CERN collider and D-Wave technology and these things, I don't know anything about them. I know of them, but I don't really know much about them. My students actually know more about these things because most of them are engineers or builders or computer, who know the sciencey side of things much more than I do. Chainsaw Erickson, what's up? Sweet. Thanks for the surprise. You're welcome. Heather says, how do you distinguish between stubbornness versus relentlessness? It's very, very simple. I'm going to turn off to do this example, I am going to actually turn off my virtual background so you can understand it. You guys will get a kick out of this. Okay, so for those of you who want to understand the difference between stubborn and relentless, let's say I want to get out of the room. Okay, this is relentless. Yay, I'm out of the room. This is stubborn. Okay. Hold on a second.
All right. Hopefully that explains the difference between stubborn and relentless. Let's see here. Chiman says, hey, David, I've been playing around with spinning with the biogeometry symbols to quote the great philosopher Borat, great success. Excellent. Knowledge is key, says, I've been image cycling ever since you announced it around a year ago and still really nothing. What's the best block remover? I've even done all the identity by design techniques. Do I need more VAK? Knowledge, I think I need to know more about what you're trying to manifest. Because there may be something inside of you or some knowledge that you need to get that would facilitate that. That's usually the stumbling block. Okay. See, AP Kang says, thanks for the breakdown to get better socially. Identity by design in Vegas was awesome. Going to be at Killer Influence in January. See you then. Okay, Amber. Good. Tony Kind, thank you. Lottie Martin says, thanks, David. At Ghost Rider, Jack Shamash. Okay, Lottie gives me 3 hearts. Yay. Nathan Mayer, can we imagine or fill the other person with our happy energy colors, like the colors that we generate that's connected to a feeling? Does that create it? It can. If you understand the bridging drills we teach in Killer Influence, it absolutely can affect them. In fact, if you know the bridging drills, it will affect them. The only question is degree. Brick T, can you cure late stage cancer? Just curious when it's too late. My personal belief is that as long as your heart's beating, it's never too late. Miracles can happen at any time. I never use the word cure in context of things like cancer. Have I helped people? Yes. Have I worked with people and then they've gone into remission or their cancer goes away? Yes. Can I cure cancer? No. Right? So again, you got to be careful when you start throwing that cure word around, especially if you got like a doctor in front of your name or shit like that. Right? I have watched the body do amazing things as a result of the techniques that we were using. Okay. So file that in the way that it's meant to be. Okay. Nathan Mayer, let's see. Let's see here. Okay, I'm seeing all the laughing out loud from my stubbornness demonstration. Laura says WEFD. All right. Average Joe, listen to YouTube with or without you. Okay. Stubborn and relentless. I had a question about self-control. I have so much self-control in every area except one part. It's really annoying. Okay. How to get the leadership in any group. The secret is to get rapport with the rapport leader and actually use their halo effect to influence the leader and to be accepted by the group. It's actually really simple. We teach it in Killer Influence. Alaska says, I have a question about self-control. I have so much control in every area. Again, that Alaska, there's no question there, sweetie. So if you can tell me more about the context, I can probably help you with that. Okay. All right. Well, it looks like we're at the home stretch. Hey, I want to thank you all for coming out and spending some time with me. I was just really, having been away for 2 weeks, missing the AMAs and the masterminds and stuff like that. I just really wanted to reach out and connect with everybody. And I promise we'll start putting out some more of the video footage from the 11-day extravaganza. If you haven't signed up for Hidden Laws of Attraction in 2 weeks, please click this link, go to and reserve your spot. It'll be here in San Diego at Marina Village. And for the next 15 people that register, I might even I'll throw in an extra video course just to say thank you for jumping on and becoming part of our clan. There are no prerequisites for Hidden Laws of Attraction. Just go to that link, click this setup link and reach out to Stephanie if you have questions. And I love you all. Good night. God bless. We'll talk to you soon. Take care.